just over a week ago. So it is under EVW Sports that it's held, and I will be dropping the links. I've just been behind a little bit, didn't put all the links in the description, but nonetheless, I just want to talk about some of the matches that I really enjoyed watching, some of the surprises that some of the matches that were super surprising to me, and then also just a lot of a couple different things that I think that could be changed in the end and overall to make the coming events a lot better. So for those joining, thank you guys. I hope you're all enjoying this stream. I hope you will enjoy my thoughts and opinions. And let's get started. What was an interesting match to me, Zurab Tabrizi versus Georgi Tautiev. Georgi Tautiev is an extremely tall guy, and he's a top roller. It's classic top roll versus hook, and Georgi Tautiev is a top roller, and he has a very long arm. And then Zurab Taurizi is a very dominant hook bowler in the past. He's been very dominant, coming back from an injury where he broke his arm just over around 2 years ago, and that happened at AMC. And he was able to, in every start, it is a best of 5 match, and in every start he was able to get to the A side. He was really able to contain the hook and get it over, but he was never able to finish the match. And Georgi Tautiev would break his wrist back and then slowly be able to work his way back. What is very interesting to me is throughout the match, though, it looked like Georgi had pain. Not exactly sure where or how, but maybe that's just how he reacts when he's under such a high pressure match and having to give it his all. Not exactly sure, but yeah. And then the next was Petr Marchant versus Lachlan Adair of Australia. And this was also a very interesting match to me. I definitely thought that Lachlan Adair was the favorite, but after watching this match, it's just gives me a wow factor to how good Petr Marchant is. He is normally a well, they say he's a top roller, but a lot of times he hooks. He can do it all kind of, but he was able to really shut down Lachlan's hook. Lachlan went in for a hook, and Petro was just able to run right over him. And yeah, it didn't look like it was going to be a match the first round. And then Lachlan Adair started going for a top roll, which was super surprising. And he actually was starting to have success in it with Matt Mask in his corner, Matt giving him little tips and tricks, and he was actually starting to crack the hand of Petr Marchant, and all seeing all the way down to the third round where he was going for a king's move to some extent just before the pin, and you seen that Petro's wrist really was starting to collapse, which is normally unheard of. Petr Marchant has such a big hand and dominant. And then the next match, the third match of the night, was Nuuchikadze, the Pitbull, a Georgian, versus Matt Mask, the wild horse from Alberta. And Nuuchikadze, I don't even know how he weighs that much. When you see pictures of him, he doesn't look that enormous. And then seeing Matt Mask standing beside him, over 1.5 feet taller, wondering how they're in the same weight class. It's crazy to see, but then obviously it is true, and yeah, very interesting. The match did not go at all like I was thinking it was going to go. I was expecting Matt Mask to be very dominant and to really be able to take the wrist of Nuuchikadze, but even seen in one of the ready goes where and Nugo even came forward with his shoulder and was able to shut Matt down. And what kind of I felt like was happening a lot in this match was a lot of instead of pushing the elbows back, what would happen is instead of just adjusting the webbing this way, the ref was really putting pressure down this way, and they were really cranking Matt's hand down. So it was like almost like Nugo was getting a grip up here, and Matt was really getting his riser forced down, and it wasn't just trying to level the webbing. It was almost like they were forcing it down, which was a little weird to me as just watching it because these refs are super elite refs, and obviously that Robert Baxter and Engen, they get the best refs, which I'm fully aware of. So no criticism to the refs. I just feel like maybe in future events, maybe just, and I know it's a super high intense matches, super pressure on the refs. A lot of people are going to criticize them, but maybe just push the elbow a little bit farther to the back of the pad and try not to pull down the riser so much, but maybe just slightly lower the hand. Sometimes you can lower the hand and the thumb doesn't actually come that much farther forward when you lower the hand to drop that webbing, and then you're also not creating a disadvantage on one athlete and an advantage to the other athlete. That was a little bit, to me, that was interesting, but at the end of the day, Nugo was the better man that day. All the lanes, he was able to access top roll and to some extent hook the one round. Matt did win one round on fouls, I believe it was, because they were both fighting in this setup a lot. It was a super intense. Matt and Nugo going back and forth, yelling at each other, and yeah, that was awesome. And then we had Jocelyn Brisson versus Egle Vaituke. I don't know how to say those names all the time perfectly, so forgive me. And seeing Jocelyn coming off of that win against Sarah Backman, I was thinking it might be a close match or a closer match. But she had the same complaints as my thoughts were with Nuuchikadze Matt Mask, where her riser was really getting pulled down. It wasn't just the webbing being leveled. And to some extent, maybe I think she could have fought a little bit more in the setup, but being a puller and getting that elite, the call to come to these elite matches, you want to put yourself in such a place, obviously, where you don't look like an idiot. And so she probably thought that since it's in a ref script and stuff, to try to be very composed and just get the grip that they were giving her, as it was a fair grip. But in the end, she did not feel like she had been given a fair grip, and Egle just showed why she is a so many time world champion puller, and she was able to really dominantly take home the win. I'm hoping that Jocelyn really keeps training, just waits for the next call. I'm sure this is not going to be her last time at East vs. West, and I hope that she just really puts in the effort to focus maybe on training on a lot of setup, because we know she's got the strength. I know she's new to the sport, but she's got technique. We've seen that against Sarah Backman. She has the technique, and she has a ton of strength. Comes from strength background, has always enjoyed strength training as a strong woman, that style, a lot of elite powerlifting, and so she's strong. She's getting the technique down continuously more and more, but sometimes those micro details in the setup are what can really change the match. And then a very saddened match, Georgie Svetkov versus David Dadikian. Was very sad to see the outcome of this match. That it looked originally like maybe Georgie had something, but then the bicep injury and stuff. So obviously David Dadikian won the match, and I I hate to some extent when people say, well, maybe he looked like he was in the match, maybe he could have won it. At the end of the day, if your body doesn't hold up to the force that the other person is applying, you could not have won the match. Your body obviously wasn't able to hold up to that force. So maybe even though you got injured in a position where you were looking at least like it was in a position where maybe you had a slight bit of control. If your body breaks down at that point and you're not able to continue in the match, you are not capable of winning that match. So to that extent, I see some things different, slightly different than some other people might, and so that to me that's a very dominant win for David Davikian. This is his second dominant win in a row. Then we had Kamil Jablonski versus Georgy Zeranov. Georgy Zeranov is from Kazakhstan, and Kamil Jablonski is from Poland. He is known for the flop press. He is extremely strong. That is his ace move, and his ace move, this is a left-handed match. His ace move is the best on his left arm. Seeing the first round, how it started off, going into the hook and press, he went into a hook press this time. In the pre-event, he was saying, I believe I can even just dive into that hook and beat him. Seeing in the hook press, he started slightly early. He got to the A side, and then he let off as I believe seeing what I seen. He let off to some extent, and also Georgie started to pull him back when the refs were like stopped. It was like a flash start. It was just bang bang. But in that half a second, 1 second of you see pulling him driving into a hook press, you see that he had a good start. Georgie starts pulling back, and they kind of stopped. And as the ref was calling them to stop, it kind of looked like he let off, and then Georgie really pulled through him. But he made a quick adjustment after that. He just changed for the flop press, and there were slips, and then it went to the strap. And then every round what was happening was Camille would get a very dominant position, drive that shoulder in, really be able to get connected. His elbow wouldn't come up at all past, and Georgie Zeranov would get so desperate and just constantly foul off the back of the pad, which, seeing others how they have beaten the flop press in the past, is really, you have to apply back pressure, but you can't be pulling your elbow off because you have to maintain that height and kind of come over their pronation. As soon as you take away their pronation, the flop press normally is not cannot be executed properly. And so just seeing that Georgie Zeranov couldn't do that, it was a super dominant victory for Camille. In the last round even, he was able to contain in a position kind of like this, where he went for his flop press and really just held on as Georgie Zeranov was pulling back, but he just kind of latched on that hand and just was able to just like pull him down to the pad as he drove across and down. Extremely impressive from Camille. That is another win. Seeing him on the rankings, he says he believes he is the best. When they ask who's the best in the division of this super heavyweight, he physically said, we don't have a dominant champion like in the right hand category, as in Levan Zaginashvili is a dominant champion. In the left hand super heavyweight category, there is not a dominant champion. He said, we are all very similar, but he believes he is the man that can hold that title. Next match, a right-handed match. We have seen this match before, and that was about 2.5 years ago, I believe, or maybe slightly more. My dates might be slightly off. Now it is Paul Lin of the USA versus David Samusia. David Samusia is the 85 kg champ at East versus West. He has defended his title, I believe, 10 times. And so once again, stepping up into the heavier weight class, this was a 95 kilogram match. And that is normally where Paul Lin is at his best. And just seeing the first round, they went slip to strap. They were both really fighting in the setup. In this match, I also seen and it's what's slightly bothering me. And I know even in the match that Paul Lynn was mentioning it, that Paul was like, he asked the ref physically, he's like, can you just push my elbow slightly to the back? He's like, you don't have to move it far back, but, and then just bring down my hand slightly. And sometimes if you just bring it down this way, and I seen him just speaking with the ref to some extent did that, but still I felt like was really doing this, like really forcing, and then you want to keep that height of your wrist, so you're going down, but then what's that ending up happening is you're being forced to grab lower on the opponent, which Paul Lynn still was able to get a decent grip, but that is just one thing I seen him mention to the ref in as they were getting their grips and going into the ref's grip. But first round they go slip, get into the strap, and as we've seen other times in many of David Samusha's matches, the first round, it's almost like he's getting a feel for where's the match going to go, where do I really need to engage my lanes. It didn't look like he was so much doing that though this time. He really was fighting in the setup. He was complaining. I was surprised he didn't get a foul sooner, as he was really complaining even in the ref script. When they went into the ref script, the ref started to put it there, wanted to close his thumb or whatever. I don't remember if it was close his thumb or close his hand, or close his hand first, and he was not happy with how Paul Lynn was setting up. And in the middle of the ref script, he just pulled his hand away and he complained. He walked away from the table and came back. I was surprised that wasn't called a foul, but in this super match series, you want to see the matches go the best they can and just have a fight. And so that was very nice to see. They ended up getting a start in the strap. Paul Lynn with a back pressure, a dragging hook, but he didn't just do what a lot of guys are doing, is come across. What he did is really tried to keep, it was more like a high hook style, and where he's coming and punching over David Samusha's pronation. So he's really turning him up as he's going for the pin pad, and it's like pushing him outside of his shoulder line to some extent. Because we've seen David Samusha many times with his wrist slightly broken back or in a very supinated position, but not where the opponent's really able to fight over his pronation, where the opponent overpronates or whatever, takes his wrist, and then is it not able to finish him, leaving David Samusha with a little bit of pronation, and he can just hang out in the match forever. He has grinding matches, but the first round went over quick. Second round, I'm not sure exactly what happened, I don't remember, but there was a foul or two, and I believe Paul Lynn lost that round. But then the rest of the rounds, Paul Lynn was able to win in a pretty dominant fashion. Afterwards, in a stream that Paul Lynn talked on his own channel, I believe it is, he said the match was not easy, he had to work for it. Looking at it, it didn't look too extremely hard, but I can definitely understand where he's coming from. And then another extreme hook war, which I did not expect, was Ivan Matushenko versus Kalinchenko. And now I am forgetting his first name. My bad. This match, when they came in, Ivan Matushenko is one of those men that when you see in the arm wrestling world, you know the match is going to go into a hook. No matter what, no matter against who, it's almost always going to get set in a hook. He can always put it in a hook. He is known to be a legend that is always able to create the setup in such a way that you're not able to access your lane if you're going for an outside move, and which I wasn't sure of what's going to happen, because Kalina has had a couple really good matches where he's been able to out-top roll people. So I was wondering, is he going to top roll? But coming in right away, seen him dive into the hook, and then I think he fouled, and then the restart, he went for a flop slip to flop underneath, which is not normally good against a elite hook puller, because what happens is when you go for that flop slip, they'll just try to grab on slightly, and as you're slipping, you're dumping your hand to get under in any way. So many times you give up your pronation in that way to get under, which what happens is they come over and you're giving kind of that ability, because the hooker is not going over the top of your hand, they're coming over, and they're really, as you're trying to push out and under, what happens is your hand starts to slide down their wrist, because they're not driving back so much, they're coming across as they're dragging, and then they pin you. He got the slip. I thought it was really low, but they gave him the slip, which is perfectly fine. And in this trap, Matoshenko was able to win, which was not surprising for me. I was expecting that to some extent, but the war that Kalina was able to give him in that hook was very unexpected to me. Then second round, I believe it was, you see in the first start, Kalina really dove into, you see him, he wasn't going for a top roll, he wasn't going for that slip, the underhand slip, and what he really dove in, and he dove in for a hook press. It was like he was driving his elbow across, and then coming forward at the same time, just really engaging it all. He was super connected, and it was really close to being a pin, which was crazy. I was like, wow. But then they called a foul on Ivan, and then it went to a restart. Ivan really just contested the center a little bit more before the go, and was able to get in. They dove into a hook again, was able to fight it out, and Ivan was able to win. Third round came in. They dove in. One of them fouled. They had a restart, and then Kalina really dove into that hook press again, pinning Ivan Matoshenko, saying, who is the better hook puller? Because Ivan is known to be the best hook puller, able to set the hook, especially in the class. He's a legend, and so he was just kind of like saying, who's the better hook puller? Which was crazy. And then in the third round, they dove into a hook again, and Ivan Matoshenko was able to come out on top. It was not easy at all. He said in the speech afterwards, he wanted the same thing that Kalina had wanted, for whoever won this match to move on and be able to face the interim world champion. And so he wasn't sure at the moment who was going to be, if it was going to be Gennady Kukhvinya or Ibrahim Zaitsev, but he said he would love to pull one of those guys, whoever was going to be the interim champion, and now we do know who that is. And I'm not sure if that match will happen or whatnot, but I believe that a match with him and Ibrahim Zaitsev could be intense. And then our ninth match of the night is a lightweight right-hand world title match. It is Makarov versus Daniel Prokopchuk. Makarov is he holds his belt. This was his current, I think, second title defense, and this is his third title match though, because he had a title match against Mindaugas Teresites, where he took the belt from Mindaugas, and then he defended it against a Turkish guy, and then now he was defending it against Daniel Prokopchuk. And I personally thought that Daniel Prokopchuk would be in a very good place to win this match. Just seeing his form over the last while and last standing, and how engaged he is. He's able to access his pronation and his side pressure. His joint stability is so insane that I was thinking he might really be able to pull off this win. And seeing in this match what he was able to do is crazy. Looking at the match, it looked like he was super comfortable in the hook. Obviously, he lost the first round when it started. He went for an outside move to top roll, which Makarov has such a big hand, just pretty much gave his riser, wasn't able to hold up, and his pronation, he was able to, that first ready go, Makarov was able to just hold and shut it all down. His pronation gave, or his riser gave out. I was able to just to pin it. It was a very quick pin. And then in the second round, Makarov, they both dove in, and Dan Prokopchuk, I believe, even had an advantageous position for a certain extent, and I don't know exactly where it was, but there was fouls and stuff in between. And I don't quite remember the score, but I know there was fouls where they were so deep in a hook and really driving sideways, and then trying to readjust, and then one guy's elbow would slip off the edge, and then later in the round the other guy's elbow would slip off the edge, and it was a true battle. It was awesome to see. Props to Makarov for retaining his title. He is obviously the best. Now seeing that it's already his third title match, second defense, that is insane. He's elite. He is the best in the 77 kg class, and it's going to be tough to beat him. It will be really tough to beat him. And then the 10th match of the evening, Gennady Kukhvinya versus Ibrahim Zagov. And what is insane is this match was for the 115 kg interim world championship. So if we go back a couple months, Ibrahim Zagov had a match where with Rino Maisek, and they were fighting for the 115 kg title, where in the end it was a battle, 3 pins to 4 pins, best of 7 match. Rino Maisek won, injuring himself, but since it was such a close match, Ibrahim Zagov is the number 2 guy in the class. Now, Gennady Kukhvinya wanted to come down, but he said the only way he was cutting that weight was if he got a title shot. And so, graciously, East vs. West organization put on this match for the interim title at King of the Table 14, and they set Gennady Kukhvinya with Ibrahim Zagov, which I thought was going to be an insane match. Seeing Ibrahim Zagov in some of his last outings, he has done really well. The only match that I really think he kind of didn't come as prepared as he could have, but also we also know that KOTT Hutchings is so good, that's the only match so far I believe he's lost at the King of the Table, or East vs. West Productions, was against KOTT Hutchings, and he lost that, which is also crazy. Just we know how strong Todd is, and he lost that match. But other than that, he's lost to Todd and then Rino Maisek, but it was an insanely close match. And then, so now they put this for the interim world title. I thought Gennady would be a favorite to some extent, but I guess as we came into the match and seeing the match from round 1, the match was literally not close. Ibrahim Zagov with that hook press, incredible. I seen it incredible when he went against Chance Shaw. It was incredible when he went against Rino Maisek, and now seeing it against Gennady Kukhvinya, I was like, okay, this is insane. This guy's getting better. Obviously, he's got an ace move, but that ace move is insane. Seeing how he was able to just run through him, I did not expect. I was slightly worried at first when Gennady Kukhvinya made weight, thinking maybe he's going to be very depleted. To some extent, that might have happened, but he claimed the whole way coming into it, he was a pro athlete. He knows what he's doing. He says he's done it before and he can do it. So those were his words. I don't know how much it took away from him, but at the end of the day, there was no shot against Ibrahim Zagov. To me, that was just also made a wow factor as to how strong Rino was coming in for when they fought for that world title a couple months ago. And I'm sure that Ibrahim is better now than he was then, because it gives months and he really wanted that title shot. but he is the interim title now, and that is just crazy. Co-main event was also a right hand world title match for the 95 kg world title. Todd Hutchings versus Rustam Babayev. Todd Hutchings faced Rustam Babayev twice before. Once was tournament, I believe, and then one was in Zloty Tour 2017. I don't know the dates, don't quote my dates. I think it was 2017 where they faced, and both of the times, one was in the finals, I think, where Todd had to beat Rustam 2 times to win or whatever. But those matches were both at 85 kg, where Todd was cutting a lot more. Now Todd is in the 95 kg class. He holds the title. This was his first defense. He obtained the title against Irakli, and then this was his first defense, I believe, against Rustam Babayev. Coming into the match, I knew there were a couple things he'd have to do different than what he did in the past. But we also know that since 2017 or 2018, whenever their last match was, Todd is a lot different. He pulls a lot different. His styles have changed. Back in the day, he was strictly a hook puller, or what we call an inside puller. And now he has really progressed to the extent where he floats between outside pulling and inside pulling. He's not a full-blown top roller. A lot of people call him the Todd roller, where he can pull an outside move with his wrist slightly kicked back, but it is an incredible move, and he's winning title matches with it. He's beating the best in the world at 95 kg and at 105 kg. Like, he is crazy. Coming into the match, I wasn't sure what was he going to have to do. And what I thought coming into it is he would really have to load up to some extent, and because he said you got to beat the best at their best. He wanted to beat Rustam Babayev in the hook, knowing that that's where he had been beaten before, and that's where he wanted to beat him. First round to go at it, and Todd kept the match on the A side in the hook, which was so much better than we've ever seen in the past. Todd was in the advantageous position. Babayev was getting slightly desperate, but was able to work it over. And then Todd fouled, restart, same thing, fouled again. First round, went to Rustam Babayev, losing on Todd on fouls. Both of the times, though, he was in a convincingly advantageous position. So that was good. Second round they went for it, and Rustam Babayev went to top roll. He knew that if he went for a hook match against Todd, he wasn't going to win. Todd definitely looked like he was the stronger puller, and going for that outside move, Todd wasn't ready for it, hadn't planned for it anytime coming up to the match, leading up to the match, and then just got pinned. Props to Rustam for changing it up. You gotta do what you gotta do. If you can change it up, change tactics, that's awesome. Third round, you see Rustam Babayev hit again for that outside move, but now Todd really just stayed flat hand, and you see him, he was going to come out of flat hand and lead. If he was going to go for the outside move, he was going to just kind of contain and blast sideways, which we seen, that's where the match ended. And to those that want to say, well, Rustam seemed like he was in the match, he could have beaten it. No. He couldn't have. If your body doesn't hold up, yeah, this might be a controversial opinion that I have, but if your body doesn't hold up in the match, you couldn't have won. It is just fair and square. If you can't continue, a match is set for so-and-so. If you can't do the requirements to win, you couldn't have won. That is my opinion. And through that injury that Rustam Babayev got in his shoulder, Todd Hutchings retains the title. And I believe he will be defending it again soon. Last match of the night, a huge super heavyweight match, right-handed. This match gave either man the open weight champion, which is currently Levon Zagnashvili, but Levon has a match with Hermes in Chicago on June 21st. And so the winner of that match would face the Vitaly Lelentin versus Michael Todd. Whoever the winner would face the winner of that match. And in the end, Michael lost. It was kind of sad to see the first round. You kind of see that after Vitaly won, Vitaly's hand got cracked back and lost his wrist. It was almost like Michael Todd gave up to a certain extent. When you see Michael Todd start to chuckle and laugh and smile, and yes, he was fighting and all those things, but at the same time, you can see there was a mentality switch from those matches where he's very turned on. I'm sure there's a lot more than just that. That is the little bit that I've seen and that I observed. But what I'm also very sure of, feeling that flop press from Vitaly is very different than feeling a flop press that Michael has probably ever felt from anyone else, because Vitaly is so much taller, so much bigger, and he is able to reach so much farther across the pad as he's like pressing, which pushes Michael Todd very much out of his reach and where he's comfortable when he's really top, or like doing that outside move, open top roll, king's move, whatever it is. And at the end, Vitaly took it 3-0. And yeah, props to him. It was a wonderful event. Thank you to EVW Sports for hosting another amazing event. The one little thing that I would say, I don't want to be in a negative, this come across in a negative way, but I think that athletes should have, like, per match, you shouldn't be able to ask for more than one review or something. Unless your review was right, then you get a second time. But if your review is wrong, you get no more reviews. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I just felt like there were multiple matches that they ended, the refs went and reviewed them, and then it came back and the score would change, or they would continue the match. And I just feel like for the people at home, that can get very confusing, and you want the matches to stay continuous and stay at a pace where it keeps people entertained. And with the matches going to so much review, I don't feel like that holds the holds the people's attention and keeps them engaged in the matches. Yeah, those are my thoughts on KOTT 14. June 21st in Chicago. There will be a lot more matches. I will be doing a lot more lives coming up. Thanks to anyone that watches this. My first live ever on YouTube. So thank you guys. Hope you have a great night.